In the harsh, unforgiving landscape of the frontier, where the scorching sun bleached the earth and the nights whispered cold secrets, lived a woman named Mary. She was a widow, her husband lost to a cruel twist of fate, leaving her alone with 2 children and an empty pantry. The little cottage where they lived stood on the edge of a vast, dry ranch, worn and battered like the family's spirits. Mary's hands, once soft and full of hope, were now calloused and trembling from days without enough food or water. Her children, Sarah and Tommy, were too young to understand the full weight of their suffering, but old enough to feel the pangs of hunger gnawing at their bellies. Their eyes were hollow, shadows of the joyous laughter that once filled their home. Days turned into weeks, and desperation became Mary's constant companion. She roamed the barren land, searching for help, for any sign of kindness in a world that had turned its back on her. But the ranchers nearby were poor themselves, struggling to hold on to what little they had. Her heart ached, not only for her children's survival, but for the dignity she felt slipping through her fingers like sand. One late afternoon, as the sun dipped behind jagged hills, casting long shadows over the dusty plains, Mary found herself at the edge of a small ranch, owned by a man named Jack. Jack was a humble rancher, known among the scattered settlers as a man of quiet strength and unwavering resolve. His life was no easier. The drought had turned his pastures to dust. His cattle were thin, and the future looked as bleak as Mary's. Yet he still toiled every day, refusing to surrender to despair. Mary approached Jack's ranch cautiously, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew asking for help might mean humiliation, but her children's lives depended on it. As Jack looked up from repairing a fence, their eyes met, hers full of pleading, his filled with quiet curiosity. "Please," Mary whispered, voice breaking, "I have no food left for my children. They are starving. If there's no hope here, I don't know what to do." Jack saw the desperation, the raw fear etched deep into her face. Without hesitation, she said, "Take my children. I cannot feed them. If you take them, they will survive." Her voice was heavy with sorrow, a mother's sacrifice laid bare. Jack's eyes softened. He stepped closer, placing a firm hand on her shoulder. "I'll take you too," he said firmly. "None of you should be alone in this." That moment marked the beginning of something neither expected, a bond forged not by blood, but by shared hardship and compassion. Chapter 2. The Rancher's Promise and a New Beginning. Jack's ranch was modest, but it had something priceless: hope. He welcomed Mary and her children with open arms, sharing the little he had and promising to protect them. The ranch was a hard life: early mornings, endless chores, and constant struggle against the elements. But Mary found strength she didn't know she had. Together they worked to rebuild what was lost. Jack taught Mary how to care for the cattle, mend fences, and cultivate the stubborn land. Sarah and Tommy, once frail and weak, grew stronger under Jack's patient guidance and Mary's loving care. Days were long and filled with sweat and toil, but the nights brought stories around the fire, stories of resilience, hope, and dreams of a better future. The children's laughter slowly returned, a sweet melody that healed wounds deeper than hunger. Mary's heart swelled with gratitude, yet she never forgot the kindness that saved them. Jack, once a solitary man, found joy in this new family, a family born from the ashes of despair. The community around them began to notice. Others too were struggling, and inspired by Jack's generosity, they extended hands to one another. The ranch became more than a home. It became a beacon of hope in a harsh world. One evening, as the sun set in a blaze of orange and pink, Jack stood beside Mary, watching Sarah and Tommy play. "We made it," he said softly. Mary smiled, tears glistening in her eyes. "Because you took us in. Because you said, 'I'll take you too.'" Their story, born from starvation and loss, was now one of survival and love, a testament to the power of kindness and the strength of the human spirit. Jack led Mary and her children into his humble home, a small wooden cabin nestled between rolling hills where the dust mingled with wildflowers, struggling to bloom. The interior was simple but clean, worn from years of use but filled with a quiet warmth that Mary hadn't felt in a long time. The scent of fresh wood and earth seemed to settle her restless mind for the first time in weeks. "We'll start fresh," Jack said quietly, his eyes steady and full of resolve. "You and the children will never want for food again. We'll face whatever comes together." Mary looked at the children. Sarah, no older than 8, clung tightly to her mother's hand, while Tommy, a boy of 5, peeked curiously from behind her skirts. Their faces, once gaunt and pale, now flickered with a hint of hope. The first days were a whirlwind of adjustment. Jack showed Mary how to tend the cattle, teaching her the delicate art of coaxing water from the stubborn earth and understanding the rhythms of the land. Mary's hands, though weary, moved with determination, fueled by the promise of a new life for her children. Each morning began before dawn. Jack would rouse the family, and together they'd rise to the sound of crowing roosters and the cold, crisp air of the early morning. They'd move through the ranch, mending fences, feeding animals, hauling water, with a unity born of necessity. Though the work was grueling, it built something stronger than muscle. It built a bond. One afternoon, Mary sat on the porch, watching Sarah help Jack gather eggs from the coop while Tommy chased after a stray calf. She couldn't remember the last time she had felt this peace, the weight of hunger and fear beginning to lift like morning fog under the warm sun. Jack joined her, handing her a cup of weak coffee. "You've come a long way," he said, his voice gentle. "More than you know." Mary smiled, the first genuine smile in weeks. "You saved us," she whispered. "I don't know how to thank you." Jack shook his head. "No thanks needed. Family looks after each other." Those words settled deep in Mary's heart. Family, a word she thought she had, lost with her husband's passing, now carried a new meaning. Not just blood, but love, sacrifice, and choice. As the weeks turned into months, the ranch began to thrive again. The rains returned, coaxing green shoots from the dry soil. The cattle grew fat and strong, and the children's laughter became the soundtrack of their days. Mary found joy in simple moments, a fresh loaf of bread, a warm fire on a cold night, Sarah's proud smile after learning to ride a horse, Tommy's infectious giggle as he chased butterflies in the meadow. But it wasn't just the land that was healing. The invisible wounds of loneliness and loss began to mend through shared stories and quiet companionship. Mary and Jack often sat under the vast sky, watching stars emerge like distant promises. One evening, Mary confided, "I thought I'd lost everything. I was ready to give up." Jack squeezed her hand. "You didn't give up. You fought for your children, for yourself, and now you've built something stronger than any drought or hardship." Their bond grew deeper, stitched together by everyday kindness and unwavering support. Mary's gratitude became love, not rushed or easy, but steady and real. The ranch flourished not because of the land alone, but because of the hearts that tended it, hearts willing to take in strangers, share burdens, and forge a new family from the ashes. The community around them noticed the change. Neighbors who once passed by with wary eyes now came to share meals, exchange stories, and lend helping hands. Jack's generosity sparked a ripple of kindness, reminding everyone that even in desperate times, no one needed to face hardship alone. One cold winter night, as snow began to blanket the fields in silence, Sarah and Tommy snuggled close by the fire, their faces flushed with warmth and happiness. Mary sat beside Jack, her head resting against his shoulder. "We made it," Jack murmured, watching the flames dance. Mary nodded, tears shining in her eyes. "Because you said, I'll take you too." Their story was no longer one of hunger and loss, but of hope and resilience, a testament to the power of compassion and the strength found in opening one's heart. And as the fire flickered, casting shadows on the walls, a new chapter began. Not just for Mary, Jack, and the children, but for everyone who believed that even the smallest acts of kindness could change the world. The seasons changed, and with each passing day, the ranch transformed. What was once a place marked by hardship and despair had grown into a sanctuary of hope and life. Mary, Jack, Sarah, and Tommy had become more than just survivors. They were a family bound by love, trust, and shared struggles. Mary's hands, once trembling with fatigue and hunger, were now strong and steady. She rose with the sun each morning, ready to meet the day's challenges head-on. The children thrived under her care and Jack's guidance. Sarah's eyes sparkled with curiosity, and Tommy's laughter echoed through the fields, no longer a fragile sound but a declaration of joy. One morning, Jack found Mary tending the garden they had planted together, a small patch of green amidst the golden grasses. "Look at this," she said softly, brushing dirt from a ripe tomato. "We've made something beautiful here." Jack smiled, pride swelling in his chest. Not just the garden, all of this, us. Their lives had changed in ways neither could have imagined when Mary first knocked on his door, desperate and broken. The promise Jack made, "I'll take you too," had blossomed into something far greater than shelter. It had become a lifeline, a fresh start. Yet life on the frontier was never without trials. One afternoon, dark clouds gathered over the horizon, and a fierce storm rolled in, threatening the ranch with torrents of rain and fierce winds. The cattle were restless, the fences shaky. Mary and Jack worked side by side, securing what they could, their hands moving with practiced urgency. Sarah and Tommy huddled close inside the cabin, watching the storm rage outside. Mary's voice was calm but firm as she reassured them, "We're safe here. Together we can get through anything." The storm passed, leaving the land soaked and glistening under the sun's return. The damage was minor, but the experience reminded them all of life's unpredictability and the strength found in unity. That night, as the family gathered around the fire, Jack raised his glass of water in a silent toast. "To family," he said simply. Mary nodded, eyes shining. "To hope." Sarah and Tommy joined in, their smiles bright and unwavering. The ranch became more than just a home. It became a symbol that kindness, when given freely and without hesitation, could save lives, that even in the darkest moments light could break through. And as the stars twinkled overhead, Mary whispered a promise to herself, to her children, and to Jack, that no matter what the future held, they would face it together. Because they had already survived the worst and had built something stronger, a family born from love and unwavering courage.